Well, it's time to make some histograms, section 2.2. So these are bar graphs and you start with numerical data. And the first thing to do is make a frequency table. So hopefully you watched the previous section about how to make a frequency table, although I'm going to be going over it again here. So what we have here are baseball teams, 30 professional baseball teams. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use how many runs they had for this season. Right here, this column R for runs. Notice that they're already put in order. If they're not put in order, wait till the very end of this video, and I'm going to show you how to do that on the TI-84. But these were already put in order for me. Okay, so I'm going to make a frequency table first and use 5 categories. So to make a frequency table, the first thing to do is find the range. So that would be the biggest number minus the smallest number. So 853 minus 513. So that's 340. And because I said I'm going to use 5 categories, I need to divide by 5. So 340 divided by 5 turns out to be a 68. It divided evenly. If this would have said 68.1, then I need to round it up to 69. So if there's any decimal, you'll have to round it up to the next whole number. Here, it turned out to be 68, so I can just use that. Now, this is the part where I covered this in the previous section. So you make the table by starting with the very smallest number, 513. Then you add 68 to get 581, add 68 to get 649, and keep adding to get all these numbers on the left. Now this one, the 580, I know that this is a 580 because this one starts at 581, so this one has to stop at 580. And then to get these numbers, you could add 68, add 68, add 68, etc. Then the last part is just counting. So from 513 to 580, there's only this team, the Miami Marlins. There's one. And when they're in order like this, it makes it easier to count for these frequencies right here. So I just counted them up. And now let me make sure that I counted all 30 teams. So if I add these numbers, well, a 9 and a 1 is 10, with 12 is 22, 23, 24, plus 6 is 30. So good, I got all 30 teams. All right, so there's the frequency table. Now make a graph out of this. So the first thing to do is find the middle number of each class. So take a 513 plus a 580 and then divide by 2. That's going to be 546.5. And then do that for each class. So 581 plus 648, divide by 2, etc. Now those go on the horizontal axis. So the 546 would go first, and then the next one, 614.5, and then the next one, and the next one. And this frequency, that's what goes on the vertical axis right here. So in this category with the least number of runs, there was only one team, the Miami Marlins. Next, it goes up to 12. The next one goes up to 9. The next one's to 6, and the next one to 2. So that is the histogram. Now, the types of shapes. So histograms can be uniform, where all the bars are basically the same. To be called uniform, they don't have to be exactly the same, but if they're all pretty much about the same, that's called uniform. Normal, this is very common, so this is normally what happens. There would be very few down here. So this, for example, could be the heights of people. So over here would be the shortest people, and there's not a lot of them, but there are some. And then you go up to the next height level, there's more. By the time you get to the middle or the average, that's where most people are. They're right around the average. And then this over here would be like Shaquille O'Neal, very tall. There's not a lot of people that are that tall, but there are some. Another distribution that shows up, and actually the one that I just made with the baseball teams, is an example of skewed. It starts off fairly medium, and then it quickly goes to the top. And then after that, it slowly progresses down and down and down. So that is skewed. Okay, so now what if you have a list of numbers and you need to put them in order? So I've got this randomly made up list. It is not in order. Well, the first thing to do is go to Stat and then move down to the second one, Sort, and then A means ascending, so from the smallest to the biggest. So just choose number 2. Now when I did that, it just put the sort, and this was a blank. So I had to put second L1 to put the name of the list. And then when you hit enter, it just says done. But if you go back to stat and look at the list, you'll now see they're in order from the smallest to the biggest.